Okay, let's get started. Barb, you want to kick it off?
Sure thing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. My name is Barb Wise, and I'm the Executive Director for the Metropolitan Washington Independent Insurance Agents Association, and we're really glad to have you here today. A special thank you to our friends at Wingman. They are associate members of the association and have offered to do this webinar for all of you, and I think it'll be a great chance for you to learn a little bit more about cyber. In my experience working with agents, it appears that there's a big gap in knowledge about the key components of cyber, and I'm really excited that you all have decided to join us. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff and Brad. Again, thank you, gentlemen, for doing this presentation for us today.
Sure. Thank you very much, Barb. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody, and uh, and we look forward to presenting today. So I'm Jeff Goldman. I'm usually in Baltimore, Maryland, but I'm down in Sarasota this week, Florida. And we also have on, and we'll be presenting to Brad Schrum, who is the chief underwriter here at Wingman. Just for any of you that are not familiar with the Wingman, we're an MGA, an insurtech business, and we have a platform to rate, bind, quote, direct bill, uh, A-rated cyber insurance, admitted cyber in under 2 minutes. So without further ado, let's get rolling here. So first, the history of cyber threats. As you can see, it goes way back to 1971. And by the way, anybody that has a question, because we have a fair number of people on, the very best thing you can do is if you want to ask a question during the presentation, use the chat feature on Zoom, and we'll stop and try to answer the question. Otherwise, we will have a Q&A period at the end of the presentation. History of cyber threat goes back with social engineering, which is where someone pretends they're uh, uh, somebody in the company, and they end up doing something nefarious. We'll get into that in a little bit. But you can see in '89, then the leading cyber attack started, which is ransomware. Data breaches by the numbers. So 100% of industries are at risk. If you have a computer, you are at risk. And one of the that have point of sales devices for credit cards. They think the credit card processing company is responsible. That is not true. They have exposure. 7.5%, 7.5 out of 10 businesses experience a cyber incident. 94% of malware is delivered via email. Phishing attacks account for more than 80% of reported security incidences. And by the way, you don't need to take notes. We will send a recording of this presentation and the slides to all of you. $17,700 is lost every minute due to a phishing attack. 60% of breaches involve vulnerabilities for which a patch was available but not applied. 63% of companies say that data was potentially compromised within the last 12 months. Data breaches cost enterprises an average of $3.92 million a year. And a ransomware attack occurs every 14 seconds. And ransomware is going through the roof. New exposures due to COVID-19. So this is an interesting area because COVID-19 has accelerated data breaches dramatically. You know, hackers never go on vacation. In fact, they accelerate attacks against remote workers because it's typical less security. So let's talk about that for 1 second. When you work from home, unlike at the office, you have there's a myriad of ports that a hacker can get in. For example, if you have an Alexa, if you have a Roomba, if you have Nest thermostat, if your Ring doorbell, if your kid has an Xbox, every one of those is a port that can be accessed. Not only that, but your Wi-Fi, unlike at work, you don't have the same firewall protection. And people's guards are let down. So they tend to be more relaxed at home, less vigilant. Privacy controls decreased. No shredder at home, documents, sensitive materials may be available. Employees are using their own computers, and we're going to get into that. That's something called BYOD, which requires a special endorsement. Security software is inconsistent. Unmanaged devices, employees cannot regulate or require automatic software updates. You just don't have your IT guy sitting in your house watching everything. So lack of oversight by IT people. Okay, reasons why cybersecurity should be a top priority for organizations. The financial loss of $1.3 billion from cyber attacks alone in the US. Cybercrime costing $11.7 million per year on average to different organizations. Organizations lose on average 1.6 million per year due to DDoS attacks. 39% of CEOs think that digital transformation is at the top of their agenda, which leads to opportunities for attack. So I've thrown a lot of stats at you all, but I'm doing it because it's overwhelming, and cyber attacks are just getting so rampant. In the month of April alone, because of when everybody sheltered in place at home, it was a 124% increase in cyber attacks that month alone. So I like this cartoon because, we think it's time for you to come to sit at the big boys' table from the kids' table, cybersecurity. It's not that long ago, cybersecurity just was not an important issue. Now, I've read a study where boards of directors consider it the most important area that they're looking at. And with large companies, they're throwing tons of money at the issue. But that's the big boys. What about small to medium-sized businesses? They're the ones getting nailed, and we'll get into that. So here's a warning from the FBI on the high impact of ransomware attacks threatening businesses and organizations. So I'm going to turn it over for a moment to Brad, who's going to go through the definitions of key data breaches.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brad from Wingman, and I'm just going to go through some key definitions for you. We think it's very important to distinguish between the definition of extortion, which I'm not going to sit here and read for you, but it's really the threat of doing something. That is what we would call extortion. And the next one is ransomware, which is the act. So there's a distinction that you should think about when you're out there, that extortion and ransomware are two different things, and those can get complicated when you get into a cyber claim where maybe extortion is covered under the policy and ransomware is not, when in fact you anticipated they were both the same thing, and they are not. We, under the policy we write with Axis, we do distinguish between the two. And as Jeff talked about, the average ransomware attack right now is $178,000, up 60% in 3 months. And certainly we have seen this occur within our book of business, the rapid rise of ransomware claims.
Well, not quite 3 months, but 3 quarters, yes, Brad.
Excuse me, in a quarter, right? From 3 months, yep. Gotcha.
So I like to tell people that about a year and a half ago, I was quoting the average ransomware attack was $44,000. So these are numbers that put small businesses out of business because the ransomware attack itself, which is the lead attack, is only the tip of the iceberg in the expenses that companies incur when they get attacked.
So, like I said, and again, we'll be sending you these slides, but extortion versus ransomware and the definition of each. Some other key definitions, if you're not familiar with them, that you'll hear out there in the cyber world, is social engineering. Where basically, in a nutshell, we call this trickery coverage. So you, the insured, are getting tricked into sending money to someone. The cyber criminals are very smart. Well, they'll go into your emails, see how you write letters. They'll write letters similar to you, and they'll definitely try to get money out of you very quickly. Also, we have invoice manipulation, and we call this reverse social engineering. So this is where one of your clients, an insurance client, is getting a bill or an invoice that looks like it's coming from you. They pay it, and they're paying the cyber criminal versus paying you. So you have an insured very upset. I mean, you have a client very upset, and you're very upset. The only one that's happy is the cyber criminal. So they're going in, and the hacker is getting lifting an invoice within your platform, and then takes your logo, puts it on there, sends it out, and your insured, or your customers paying a hacker instead of you. Bricking. This is another term that's used out there that a lot of people aren't familiar with. Basically, hackers are not very nice people. They'll go into your platform, and, or I should say, your computer, and what they do is shut it down. You try to turn it on. You don't see any physical damage. Your computer will never turn on anymore. It has become what we consider to be a worthless brick that you can throw out your window. So that's another term that's out there. And last but not least, Jeff mentioned bring your own device. And this is where an employee is using a personal device for business. We have the ability and are covering that under the policy where an employee is using their own device. There's no insurable interest in that device by the insured. But if the employee gets bricked and they can no longer use their personal computer that they were using for business, the policy would replace that computer, even though there's no insurable interest by the insured in that device. And that's called BYOD.
Okay, so again, ransomware is the lead attack, so we focus in a bit on that. So who's getting hit? Well, the biggest area is professional services, doctors, lawyers, accountants, real estate companies, title companies, and so on. So, because people ask us all the time, who should I concentrate on? Well, everybody's got exposure because it's not if they're going to get hit, it's when they're going to get hit. But professionals are particularly targeted. And then we've talked, I had mentioned earlier that it used to be only large businesses, large enterprise type businesses were being attacked 5, 7, 6 years ago. Now it is small businesses. Understand that it is so easy to become a hacker. If you're in one of these Eastern European countries, wherever, you can buy hacking software on the black market, sit in a cyber cafe and open shop. And that's exactly what's happening. So 51% with a business, 54% of businesses between 1 and 100 employees are the lead ransomware victims. Financial impacts. So, have to pay the ransom. Business income for reduction for shutdown of your business. Again, what I had mentioned is that the ransom, since that's the lead attack, is only the tip of the iceberg. Reputational harm, potential for a liability claim. And I heard a stat, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure 60% of small businesses that get attacked that do not have coverage close business. And it's not surprising because a typical ransomware attack to resolve it is in the $600,000 range, even for a small attack. And your mom and pops aren't going to be able to come up with 600,000. Okay, so Brad, you want to take this?
Yes, the anatomy of a quality insurance policy. Monoline policies are much more robust than a BOP or a bolt-on policy. The coverages that are provided are much more robust and give you first and third party coverages, where we see most BOPs only give you a small amount of third party coverage and no first party coverage. Like Jeff said, you want to make sure that you have a 24/7 breach hotline manned or staffed by attorneys specializing in ransomware, where you can pick up a phone on a Saturday or a Sunday night and you've just been ransomware and you don't know what to do. We've seen those claims. We've seen the 24/7 breach hotline in action, and it certainly does work very well. And that's a comfort for clients out there who want to have specialized cyber insurance. You want to make sure the carrier is responsive to all the customer needs that they have, and that would be training to having a quality policy to having that 24/7 breach hotline. You want to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, that the policy both includes ransomware and extortion coverages. You want to make sure there's a distinction between the two. You want to make sure the carrier has representatives to prepare to pay ransomware via cryptocurrency slash Bitcoin. The hackers out there do not want any currency that can be traced. So usually it is always 99% of the time is cryptocurrency, and you want to make sure that that carrier has the ability to quickly pay in cryptocurrency. You want to make sure that the policy includes direct and contingent business income coverages, whether it's your system that you're using or you're relying on Amazon Web Services or Azure or some type of cloud provider. You want to make sure that you have third-party coverages as well. Okay, you want to make sure that you can get coverage limits high enough to pay a ransomware. As Jeff mentioned, the average ransomware payment's 178,000, and the secondary costs are even a lot more. The average number of days, Jeff, I think we see a client is down from a ransomware claim is about 2 weeks right now, somewhere in that range.
I'm also going to add one more thing in there, Brad. Back on business interruption coverages. One of the things you need to look at very carefully is the waiting period, because some policies, monoline policies, we see 12, 24, 72-hour waiting periods. In our case, it's 6 hours.
Good point. This is brand new. Make sure your insured is with a reputable cyber carrier who understands the OFIC, which is the Office of Foreign Asset Control, which is under the U.S. Treasury, that regulates that ransomware claims. There is a bulletin that just came out last week that the Treasury is saying that you need to make sure if you have a ransomware that you are not paying bad actors who are on this list and sanctioned. And if you pay them, it is considered to be criminal. This is very, very important. So if you're writing cyber with a carrier who does not have all the checks and balances, you could have more than just fines and penalties. You could actually have a criminal sanction against you. And this is why the carriers, who are very good at it, get the FBI involved, law enforcement, whoever, and it is suddenly become a very, very big issue. And you could look this up and just go to OFIX slash US Treasury slash cyber, and it'll explain the bulletin to you in great detail. But this just came out about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons, cyber, we like to call it the Wild West of insurance. It's maybe the sexiest area of insurance too, but it's the Wild West. Things are evolving quickly. The number of attacks, issues like this are going to start making premiums rise dramatically. Okay, so let's talk about the District of Columbia in particular, since that's who you guys are. Under the rules of the district government, any one of these particular types of businesses doing a contract with the city, with the district government is required to have $2 million in cyber coverage. And those are the companies. So there's some good business out there to be had with that. Brad?
So just to give you an example of a ransomware attack, since we're sitting here with brokers, and you'll see that there was a recent ransomware attack on Arthur J. Gallagher, and you can read the attack and what happened to them. This is public knowledge. It just gives you an example that it could happen to your agency in itself. And it's very important that you have cyber coverage as well. But Gallagher was down, their website was down, and their emails were down for a few days. But this is just a recent example that we bring to your attention. And certainly there's hundreds of them out there. But since we're talking insurance today, we thought that be important to say we as insurance brokers are not immune from this at all.
And also, if you're not offering cyber to your customers, it potentially, and having them sign a declination letter or a rejection letter, you're putting your own agency's E&O at risk, and it does happen. So this is the data breach event hotline. Well, this is our data breach event hotline through Access Insurance. So the people you're looking at there are lawyers. As Brad said, a good policy has a data breach coach. So the way I like to position this personally is that the cost of the premium, in my opinion, is worth having this attorney on retainer, just like they have a retainer for other types of legal issues that come up. Brad?
So here's some of the actions to reduce cyber incidents. We're not here as a cyber security firm, but this is just some of the things as the backup locally and in the cloud, and segment your network access, have early threat detection, and install anti-software. A lot of this is very normal that you would do anyway. The two things that we think are most important and are the weakest link to everything, and this is where we see the claims happen, is train your employees and educate yourself. Think before clicking. This is where the cyber criminals work on your emotions. And like Jeff gave a good example about COVID, you see that they're going to say that you've been identified. Next thing you know, you click on it and you just let malware into the platform and you got yourself a ransomware claim. The other thing that Axis offers is human security training. So if you were insured or one of your insureds was with Axis, they offer this module training to help you and your employees reduce the potential to have a ransomware claim. But the majority of ransomware just always happens by letting malware into your platform and working on your emotions.
Okay, so to summarize, it's not if, but it's when both you, the insurance agency, and your clients will have a data breach. What's the number you used, Brad?
75%, Jeff.
Okay, 75%.
Small and medium businesses.
Right. So it's not like selling, fire insurance, which likely will never be used. It likely will be used at some point. If you're not offering monoline cyber to your customers, you're doing them a disservice. And what we mean by that is where Brad went over, if you think that because you have a bolt-on or BOP coverage for them, that you're protecting them, you're really doing them a disservice. Cyber insurance is a critical element to any SMB's overall risk management program. And it's up to you to educate them on this. A good cyber policy offers a 24/7 data breach coach, as Brad has mentioned. Educating yourself and then all your customers on the need of a comprehensive cyber policy. This is an area that constantly evolves, and it really does require a lot of education on your part so you can convey that to your customers. In our case, we offer monthly webinars to all of our appointed agents to keep them apprised of new developments, like Brad was just mentioning. Protect your own agency's E&O policy, utilizing having them sign a rejection or the declination letter for coverage, because that protects your agency's E&O. So we're going to open this up now to Q&A, and let's unmute everybody. I think you now can unmute yourself if you have a question. But also, if any of you who, I know there's someone here that are already appointed with us, if you have any interest in seeing a platform demo of what we do, then please reach out to me by either that email address or that phone number. So, questions? I'm sure not everybody knows everything about cyber. Please speak up if you have any questions at all.
It's 11 o'clock.
I guess it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
11 o'clock.
Yes, it woke us up. Okay.
Okay. Barb, you have anything else for us?
No, just a thank you to both of you, Brad and Jeff, for sharing what your information on cyber, and we greatly appreciate it. And for our members who are participating, thank you for being on this call. I'll be sending out a short survey after the call to see if you're interested in more programs similar to this. So please watch for a survey, and thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
And we will be sending you the recording and the slides. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.